Hello, friends. You've stumbled across a short clip from the Daily Switch 2 podcast, which, believe it or not, is a podcast that is about the Switch 2 with new episodes released daily. What will they think of next? Right, Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. Ivalice? I should know because I've just watched the trailer and it had voice acting, but I can't actually remember how they pronounced it. I'm going to say Ivalice, the Ivalice Chronicles. Obviously, it's a Square Enix game. I say obviously because it's got Final Fantasy in the title. Final Fantasy Tactics is, as you may guess, a tactical RPG spin-off of the Final Fantasy series, which for most of the time is a turn-based JRPG, isn't it? It's based on an original PS1 game that came out in 1997. And I remember when that game first came out, there was quite a lot of hype around it, but I didn't actually play it at the time. One thing I did see people talking about is the War of the Lions content is seemingly somewhat controversially cut from this new remaster. Now, not having played the originals, I wasn't sure what that meant, so I did a tiny bit of research just quickly, and it seems that it originates from the PSP remaster, so the PlayStation Portable version that obviously came out a few years after the PS1. And that PSP version was apparently substantially changed from the original PS1 version, and the director of this game, this new re-release, has said that it's done on purpose because he preferred the original PlayStation 1 version and wanted to keep the remake here for the Switch and Switch 2 pure to the original vision of the directors and the writers, etc. So fair enough, to be honest, and it doesn't affect me as I don't have nostalgia for the PSP version, but if you do, it's worth bearing that in mind. This isn't going to be exactly the same game or story content of the PSP version. It sticks a lot more closely, thematically wise at least, to the PS1 version, although this isn't just an emulated upscale or something like that. No, this is a complete ground up remake, and it looks like a lot of effort has been put in. When I was originally reacting to the live version of the Direct, I did also say something that I always say on this show, that while I do like JRPGs, some of my favourite games of all time are JRPGs, but tend to be retro ones, because nowadays I don't really have enough time to play many of them, so it's rare that I will get around to them, even when I'm genuinely interested and I think they look good. And I especially often say that I am not generally keen on tactical games, and tactical RPGs have never really appealed to me. It's not, I've never actually played one fully, so I can't guarantee that that's my fully formed opinion. But when I have tried them out briefly, I have bought a few of them over the years or rented a few of them and just briefly tried them out. They just have never really clicked with me. But I do like Final Fantasy games, especially the PS1 era. I really liked Final Fantasy 8. 9 is even better. And Final Fantasy 7 is, I mean, like many people, but Final Fantasy 7 is up there as one of my favourite games of all time. It's just absolutely amazing, and I play most of the spin-offs and things as well, and I'm really looking forward to the remake games on the Switch 2 as well. And I did say that I know that Final Fantasy Tactics is considered an excellent game, so I did say that if this game has a physical version, it might actually end up being the first tactical RPG that I actually do buy and properly bother to give a real chance and actually try and play it for real. I did also talk a little about HD 2D games, not that that's what this is, but obviously, Square have been releasing a lot of HD 2D games when they're releasing remasters or re-releases of their old RPGs. I'm not the biggest fan of the HD 2D games because for me, I do really love retro-style pixel art when it's done well, and I really, really love modern indie games in the retro style. In fact, that's basically what I make. I mention fairly regularly on this show that I'm an indie dev myself, and basically almost everything that I make is retro style pixel art games. And for me, it's very important to keep the style consistent with how it would have been on original hardware, so that the games, look and feel very much like a 16-bit game, or like a 16-bit game but kind of modernized, a bit like Sonic Mania, for example. Like when you're playing Sonic Mania, yes, technically it actually looks a lot better than the old Genesis games, but it looks how you remember the Genesis games looking in your memory, because everything is consistent. It all sticks to the same resolution. So for me, it always slightly throws me off when a game mixes resolutions, and when I'm looking at the HD 2D games, often I think, oh yeah, they do look really, really pretty, but it's very hard for me to get invested in a story when the characters look so different and so separate from the backdrop. There's just a level of immersion that I don't get there, whereas in something like a pixel art RPG from the 16-bit days, or even Final Fantasy VII, when playing on the original PlayStation, so everything's a consistent resolution, for me it all gels together well. It's one of the reasons why I don't like some of the modern versions of the original Final Fantasy VII, because they will keep the low poly models, but then they'll up-res them because they're rendering on modern hardware, but the pre-rendered backgrounds are still at the low resolution, and suddenly it doesn't gel and it doesn't fit together anymore. It's a bit like how Resident Evil 2 and 3 on the Dreamcast didn't look better than the PlayStation 1 versions. They actually looked worse because the smooth models didn't match the pixely backgrounds. But Resident Evil Code Veronica on the Dreamcast looked incredible because it was actually designed for the hardware, and again, everything all matched. Anyway, that's a slight rant. I don't hate HD 2D games, and obviously we've got 2 to get to, and actually, spoiler alert, I'm actually quite excited for them, and I think they look good, but there's just that element of it's not my preferred art style, and when it comes to somebody saying, oh well, let's remake a pixel art game from the 90s, I often think, okay, but I actually prefer the original pixel art. I recently talked about Raidar Remastered. Now, that is another remake of an old RPG, but from the ground up, and it had pre-rendered backgrounds in the original, but in the new version it's all fully 3D. And I did say in my review, personally, I think the quality of life improvements of the modern version make it a vastly superior game. But there's definitely an argument to be made that the PS2 version with the pre-rendered backgrounds actually looks better than the modern graphics, or looks, more artistically pleasing. But the quality of life improvements mean the modern version is still better. So even though I'm not the biggest fan of HD 2D as a style, I do think it can look very pretty, and I'm aware I'm in the minority. Many people really, really love it. They get that kind of retro fuzzy nostalgia from the pixely characters, but they love the more modern, almost kind of miniature looking. What's it called? When you make models, dioramas. It's like a diorama of or like little model villages and things. It almost looks photorealistic, the backgrounds, but not photorealistic of real locations, photorealistic of models, and then the pixel art characters on top. And you can add really cool lighting effects and shading and shadows and weather and atmosphere and all kinds of things that you couldn't do, or it was very difficult to do in the old pixel art style. So they do look good. It's just, for me, for an RPG, it's difficult to get immersed when the characters and the backgrounds look so separate. For me, it's just a personal preference. However, I vastly prefer them to the other option that often happens when old 2D pixel art RPGs get modern versions. Often it's done for mobile versions, and there has been some mobile versions of some Final Fantasy games and Dragon Quest games, and to me they look, or they often, not always, but they often look awful, especially the ones originating on mobile, because like everything is given a kind of, it's all the graphics are redrawn in high-res versions, but often it ends up looking too clean. and ends up looking kind of cheap or generic. Often it's very clear that they're just vector-based graphics and they're not, handmade and hand-drawn. There's just something kind of cheap or generic. They lose a lot of the personality of the original pixel art. So I assumed that that's what this was. And I didn't really pay much attention when the trailer was playing in the live version. In fact, I was still mostly talking about Pac-Man because I was just so blown away by how excited I was about the repack. So I was only like half serious when I said, "Oh well, if there's a physical version and it's on the cart, then I might buy it. I might play it." But after the show, when doing my prep for this part now, I downloaded all the separate trailers to use in this video, and I watched them through full screen. And you know what? This looks beautiful. This looks amazing. The cutscenes are animated, clearly on computer, yes, but with really beautiful filters and coloring and shaders to make it all look like watercolor and soft pencil edges and hand scribbled shading. It's all so pretty and tasteful, and it just looks wonderful, in my opinion. I think they've done a fantastic job. And the in-game graphics, yes, they are higher resolution than the Pixel originals, but it doesn't have that super crisp Ultra HD vector art with perfect lines that can often make these games, like I say, they can often look almost too perfect, and therefore emphasize the simplicity of the geometry inherent with these old games, or the fact that everything is square-based or grid-based. So you often end up with what looks like a clip art ridden click and play game from a late 90s 999 games CD-ROM that you got in a gas station for $5, or maybe a bad free-to-play mobile game or a free 2000s Flash browser game. It's very easy, even if you are a very talented artist and work very hard making original assets, if they're too clean and too perfect, it's very easy to accidentally have those kind of vibes. It's one of the main things, unfortunately, that made it hard for me to enjoy Shadow Labyrinth. And again, as a huge Pac-Man fan, that makes me sad because I really wanted to love that game. But no, in this game, the art doesn't have that problem. These lines are imperfect. They look and feel hand-drawn. The colours look hand-painted. It all looks hand-shaded. I'm aware that most of it is probably filters, and but still, it looks great. It's done really well, and they look gorgeous when running full screen on a big screen. Like watching the trailer, I downloaded the trailer in whatever the highest res was, whether it was 4K or 1080, I can't remember. But I watched it on a big TV, and it just looks gorgeous. I really like it. Would I prefer the original pixel art, but just in widescreen? Maybe, to be honest with you, but that's because I'm a retro head. But this looks really nice, and they've obviously put a lot of effort in making it a truly beautiful game. That it completely passed me by when I was reacting to the live version of the video, and it was in a small window, not full screen. I was monitoring all to go, etc., all at the same time. But no, this looks so much better than I initially kind of assumed when I was just half looking at it in a small window. Also, the story, clearly from the trailer, is so a bit of me. Anti-establishment, anti-aristocracy, normal people fighting for equal rights against oppression, etc. These are things that I care deeply about. Without wanting to get too political, it's one of the reasons that even though I'm British, I choose to live in France. We're two neighbouring countries, many similarities in cultures and things, but after the revolution in France and the abolition of the monarchy, etc., and the national values of the Republic being liberty, equality, fraternity, it's very much instilled, even in children as they're growing up, that spirit of protesting against power, speaking out when things aren't right, when they aren't just, I am all for that. I don't go along with this stereotype of, the French people complain all the time, the French people no, I think it's the opposite. It's that in some countries, and I can certainly say this about a lot of people in Britain, unfortunately, and I love Britain, and obviously I grew up there and all my family are from there, but too often it's a case of you don't speak out when something's wrong because you're worried about making a fuss, or you're worried about being impolite, or you feel, oh, I'm not important enough because I'm not rich, I'm not in the aristocracy, I'm not, related to anybody, I'm not, I'm not rich, nobody's going to listen to me anyway, so I might as well not argue back. So this stereotype of, oh, French people moan all the time, or French people are always striking, or French people are always protesting against things, yeah, that is true, but to me, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because changes actually happen and people actually listen, Again, I'm not really trying to be political. I certainly don't want to start a fight in the comments. If you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. And I'm certainly not saying that the situation in France is perfect. It definitely isn't. There's plenty of corruption and problems here as well. So I'm absolutely not trying to claim otherwise. But I'm just saying that these are issues in general that I deeply care about and I think about on a fairly regular basis, and I read up a lot about, and I collect history books and philosophy books. These are subjects that are really interesting to me. So an RPG with that kind of revolutionary and anti-aristocratic storytelling, it really appeals to me. And also, wow, at least from the trailer, I would say the voice acting is really good. Definitely a step above many modern remakes of old RPGs where they, as a feature, they kind of add voice acting, but it ends up being cringy and you kind of end up wanting to turn it off, especially as you can probably read the text faster than what's being said. But no, I actually might end up leaving the voice acting on because it seems to be really good, from what's in the trailer at least. I was very impressed. So yeah, this game looks great, like really, really good. As I said, from my brief experience trying a few of them over the years, I don't usually really get on with tactics RPGs, but this will definitely now be the first one that I actually give a proper, real, full chance to try and actually get into. It's out on the 30th of September, 2025. I'll definitely be playing it and probably reviewing it. Whether I'll get a review out immediately is debatable, because, of course, you can't really review an RPG until you've played it fully. Like my Ride Out review didn't come out on the day of release, not at all. It came out much later and actually got less views because of that. But I think you can't credibly review an RPG on the day of release, can you? You have to spend time properly with it. But yeah, no, I will definitely review this game at some point. There are Switch 1 and 2 versions, which is great. Both have a physical release and seem to cost the same, only $50, which for a substantial sized RPG is a good price, especially on the Switch 2. The bad news is that on the Switch 2 version, it is a code in a box, but I think they will sell far more copies for $50, even a code in a box. Far more copies at $50 than they would have done for $70 on a full cart, even though collectors like me would have preferred that. It's actually the smart move to charge less, I think. And I can forgive Code in a Box Switch 2 games as long as they are at a budget price, like the aforementioned Shadow Labyrinth. And also, like the aforementioned Shadow Labyrinth, here's the real thing. The Switch 1 version is obviously fully on the cart. It's the same price, and Square Enix are including a free upgrade to the Switch 2 version for those buying the Switch 1 cart. Fantastic. Love it. Thank you. Obviously, I would prefer a proper Switch 2 cart at a reasonable price, yes, but right now, with the 64 gig cart limit debacle, it's currently impossible to do so. So Square have done the right thing here, and it's by no means what all third parties choose to do. Many Code in a Box games at $70 or even more have no upgrade path offered. I can't criticize Square Enix here. They are making the best of a bad situation. As I said in part 1, hopefully that situation will change soon. But for now, yeah, this is pretty much the best we could have expected, unless we wanted to pay $70 to $80 to have the full thing on a cart, which personally I would have, but they would have been shooting themselves in the foot. Not many people are going to pay that for a remake of a PS1 game, no matter how much effort has been put in and how good it looks. So you're probably therefore better off just buying the Switch 1 version and then upgrading it to play on your Switch 2 for free, unless you specifically want that Switch 2 style box on your shelf. Just bear that in mind. Either way, the download is not going to cause you many problems. It's just 6.8 gigabyte. That is a tenth of EA Sports FC, and frankly, this looks so much nicer, to my eyes at least. Lots of fully animated cutscenes, beautiful high-res artwork, high-res textures, and extremely well-optimized full voice acting. Kudos for getting it all into just 6.8 gigabyte. Obviously, that's still like kind of 10 times bigger than the original PlayStation version. But as I said, this is a complete ground-up remake with lots of stuff that wasn't in the original. Like there was no full voice acting in the original, for example. There's no extra price gouging with deluxe versions, DLC, etc. There's none of that shenanigans. It's just $50, $50. There is a pre-order bonus. From what I can see, white equipment for Ramza. Ramza, I assume, is the main character. Weapon, mithril knife, accessory, spiked boots, which increase a unit's jump attribute while they are equipped. Consumable items, 10 high potions and 10 ether. Now, probably, obviously, for those who play Final Fantasy games, that's all stuff that is earnable through normal gameplay anyway, with the possible exception of the white versions of the equipment. But it looks like it's just basically a white version of a costume that already exists in the game. So basically, it's not hiding anything behind pre-orders to force you to pre-order. Otherwise, there's content that you absolutely can't get. As I say, I don't like that. It's a scummy tactic. So I really, really like the fact that this is $50. There's no deluxe version. There's no DLC. There's no season passes. And even the pre-order bonus. Yes, there is a pre-order bonus, but it's stuff that you can earn yourself through gameplay. So it's not forcing you. It's not strong-arming you to pre-order. Otherwise, you'll be missing out. This is great. I went from being vaguely interested, but not really, to, I'm definitely going to buy this. I'll probably buy the Switch 1 version and just upgrade it. But no, I'll definitely buy this. I will definitely review it. Do I want to put this in an S tier? I don't think I can go quite so far as to put it in an S tier, because I'm still a little hesitant about, it is a code in a box. It is also available on the Switch 1, so it's not a Switch 2 exclusive. And historically, I'm not the biggest fan of tactical RPGs, so this one still does need to change my mind. But I am kind of hyped for it, as you can probably tell. So I'm going to put this in A tier. So in A tier, we've got Monster Hunter and Katamari. I can't put it in front of Monster Hunter, can I? Because that is a massive game. Katamari is a game that I am really, really a fan of that series, as we discussed. But it's only a Switch 1 version. As far as we can see, there's no Switch 2 version. And I don't like a lot of the pricing stuff. So do you know what? I'm going to put Final Fantasy Tactics behind Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter Stories 3, but ahead of Katamari, which is crazy because I love Katamari and I don't like tactical RPGs. So that should show just how much rewatching and actually paying attention properly to this trailer has made me interested in this game. Kudos Square Enix. Looking forward to this one. Excellent. Well, that was funny / sad / informative / stupid, wasn't it? Feel free to mentally redact to make that make sense with the clip that you just heard. I don't know what it was. I'm just recording a bumper. But if you enjoyed the clip, please give it a like. If you'd like to hear more, click subscribe, and you can find all the ways to listen to and support the full daily podcast at linktree/dailyswitch2. That's linktr.ee/dailyswitch2. Let's go! Did I sound like I mean that? I do. I really do.